Very good. I'm going to actually move this camera over a little bit too because we're also online. Marianne Williamson is here, and I've got your mic up. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's wonderful to meet you. This is the first time we've met.
Thank you.
I've obviously been aware of you for a long time because you're running for president, of course, in 2020, and you sound out of breath. Were you running to get up here?
I'm sorry that we're late. Yeah, we were sort of running. I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay. No, it's like I was saying.
That's okay.
I know that when you're probably doing a lot of appearances. We are the first in the nation primary in theory.
Well, the DNC cannot strip you of your significance.
Well, that's one of the things I wanted to ask you about today, actually. Yeah. And also, too, before we really get going on that, and I want to talk to you about issues, too, but I also want to talk to you about your experience with the DNC. But if you have any questions or anything at all for Marianne, the studio line is open, 603-250-6007, 603-250-6007. And, of course, you can always ask questions in the chat room as well. We have a very busy chat room. But, yeah, I saw you on the Young Turks with Jenk and Anna, and you were talking quite a bit about some of the ways that they, I don't know how much you blame the DNC or the Biden campaign or both, if it's all kind of the same, but it sounds like they've really kind of tried to sabotage you.
Yeah. Yes. Early on, after I had announced, I heard some pundits say, well, we should just pretend she's not there. And I thought, well, they're not going to be able to do that.
Right.
But that's exactly been the tactic, So I'm not on, it's pretty astonishing, actually. Someone who is a declared candidate, you're not on CNN, you're not on MSNBC.
Mm-hmm.
So you really see that those stations, those networks just chop wood and carry water for the DNC, for the Democrats, the way Fox does for the Republicans. And it's bad for our democracy. I'm sorry, it is. It just is. It's bad for democracy.
No, I agree with you. Obviously, in some ways, your experience has been different than in 2020, because in 2020, for example, you didn't have an incumbent Democrat, so it was an open field, and you got to be on that debate stage. You actually quite a few of the debates, right, in the 2020 cycle.
Yeah, a couple of them, and they were satisfied to just mock me,
Yeah,
and treat me like I'm wacky and woo-woo, etc. This time, they are very serious about not wanting anyone in the field except Joe Biden, and they're overt about it. I just think it's a bad idea. I think it's a bad idea not only because it's bad for democracy, but because we're all supposed to just assume that because the president beat Trump in 2020, that he's the best candidate for 2024. I think that's wrong. I don't believe that's true. I think that, when people say to me, Marianne, why are you doing this? The fascists are at the door. Don't you realize that? I'm doing this because the fascists are at the door. And I agree with Franklin Roosevelt, who said that we wouldn't have to worry about a fascist takeover as long as democracy delivered on its promises. In a country that, unlike every other advanced democracy, does not have universal health care, that does not have tuition-free college or free child care or paid family leave or a guaranteed living wage or guaranteed housing, democracy is not delivering on its promises. And that should be the agenda of the Democrats. It is my agenda for 2024. It is an offering of fundamental economic reform, not just the alleviation of stress for what really amounts to less than the majority of the American people. Bidenomics is not a winning message for 2024. It means that I've alleviated the stress of some people. That is not the majority of people. That message that we've done so well, and let's just finish the job, is contradictory to the visceral experience of the majority of American people. It's not going to win, and most importantly, it's not going to repair the country over the next 4 years, and my agenda does.
How does your agenda differ from what Biden has done or what he puts forth? Because obviously, Republicans talk about Biden like he's this far left guy, which
that's a joke, actually.
Clearly is not. And then, of course, on the other hand, you have folks like I mentioned, the Young Turks. They talk about Biden and other Democrats that are kind of in that lane as being sort of Republican light almost.
Well, when you ask how my agenda differs, my agenda is universal health care. He has said that he would veto a Medicare for all bill. It is a complete cancellation of the college loan debt. It is tuition-free tech school. It is paid family leave. It is a guaranteed living wage. It is all those things that I had said before. They are quite different than the president. The president is taking incremental approaches to maybe sort of kind of sometime getting there. But like all corporatist Democrats, he wants to help people. but he not so much that he is willing to get to the point of challenging the bottom line of his corporate donors for whom short-term profits goes above and beyond and takes precedence over safety and well-being and health of the American people. So that's very different. Mine is fundamental economic reform where humanitarian principles and democratic principles come before corporate profits. It's as simple as that. And also another way in which I radically differ from the president is that for all his talk about being a climate president, and even though there are indeed some healthy investments in green energy in the Inflation Reduction Act, he has given more oil drilling permits than even Trump did. And he's approved the Willow Project, which was an $8 billion oil drilling project on the North Slopes of Alaska, both of which completely nullify the benefits that otherwise are healthy in the Inflation Reduction Act regarding climate change. So I would declare a climate emergency, and I would begin us immediately on mass mobilization to move justly from a dirty economy to a clean economy.
Has your messaging or even the issues themselves that you're most concerned about, has that changed at all between 2020 and 2024, or is it kind of the same?
No, I look at the world the same way I did then. I have moved all the way to Medicare for all in a way that in 2020 I wasn't.
So have we.
Yeah. In 2020, I still thought we could get there for everybody, and I see differently now.
Yeah.
And also I think we ought to legalize drugs, and I wasn't there. In 2020, I really get we should end the drug war.
Yeah, I say that all the time, although I've always been there on that one, but it took me a while to get there on Medicare for all. I consider myself a capitalist, and I think Jenny would say the same thing.
I'm a recovering Republican.
Right, yeah, Jenny used to be a Republican state rep.
Long time ago, not anymore.
I'm an independent, but I've always said, my position, Marianne, has always been that, we live in the most successful, most prosperous, wealthiest country in the history of the world. So when somebody tries to tell me that we just can't figure out a way to make sure that everyone has access to adequate
exactly right.
or better than adequate, preferably healthcare, I just don't believe it. So
well, you shouldn't believe it because, of course, their ruse is to tell us that it's just complicated. It's not complicated. It's corrupt. Whether it's a matrix of corporate dominance that has become corporate tyranny at this point. Universal healthcare because of insurance companies, rationing insulin because of pharmaceutical companies, carcinogens in our food because of big food companies, big agricultural companies, big chemical companies, lack of safety on our streets because of gun manufacturers, dirty energy because of big oil, and obviously our foreign policy dominated by the military-industrial complex because of defense contractors. This will not end if we keep electing those people, because everything that I just said is now baked into the cake there. The status quo will not disrupt itself. This will only happen if there is an intervention by the people. A government of the people, by the people, and for the people has become a government of the corporations, by the corporations, and for the corporations. Those people will not end that. Only we can.
They absolutely will not. After just being a brief time in D.C., the amount of money that goes into the lobbying there that absolutely destroys our healthcare system, and it makes access almost impossible. I'm right there with you. I used to think that we could fix our healthcare system, and no, we can't.
85 million people are underinsured or uninsured. And this business of underinsured, there are millions of people who have the insurance that will enable them to go to the doctor, but 18 million of them can't afford, because they don't have the coverage, to pay for the prescriptions that the doctors give them. They can't afford the treatment. I've had doctors say to me, why do I even bother? Yeah. I tell people, I understand what's wrong with you. This is the medicine you need. This is the treatment you need. And the person says, my insurance won't cover it. So what was the point of hearing the doctor tell you what was wrong with you?
I have a provider that had to hire an employee just to deal with denials from Anthem.
Thank you.
Just to deal with that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And we have 1 in 4 Americans living with medical debt.
Yes.
We have $88 billion medical debt, although I read the other day, no, it's actually $200 million. So somewhere in there.
How many people are poor in our society because that's the only way they can stay alive? That's me. I pay for my medications, my infusions. I could go on and on. Everybody knows my story. But it's that bad that every day people suffer and die in this country while the medications to make their lives better or to have a dignity are locked behind a closed door in the hospital where they can't afford it.
We have 1.3 million Americans who ration their insulin.
Yes.
when I mentioned that in a speech I gave in England about 3 months ago, people looked at me in disbelief.
Yeah.
Because they have socialized medicine. They have universal health care. They can't even imagine. What do you mean people
Right.
ration their insulin?
And this $35 limit, this isn't good enough. It's still for an average
And
patient who needs 7 vials. That's over $200 in 1 month.
Right. And that's, by the way, only if you're 65 years or older. There are a lot of people under the age of 65 who are rationing their
I
insulin.
did not know it was only for
Yeah.
people over 65. I thought that was a universal limit.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And what's your status in New Hampshire as far as, are you on the ballot here for the primary?
Well, I
or-
certainly will be on the ballot.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I've been very upset about, and I mean, I guess I understand from a political standpoint the rationale behind it. Biden wanting to, I think he basically told the DNC, you have to move the first in the nation primary status to South Carolina. And I get it in a sense that, you know, I always say Joe Biden owes his presidency to Congressman Jim Clyburn
Yes.
for that endorsement. That's what turned it all around. And you were you still in the race at that point? Were you on the ballot in South Carolina
No,
last time?
I dropped out. I dropped out before New Hampshire last time, but I
Okay.
regretted it, actually.
Did you? Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm not dropping out this time.
I remember seeing you in the debates, and you know, they kind of had you on the side. And obviously, those debates where you've got a whole, I don't know, 8 or 10 people on the stage, it's not really the best format to get to know new faces on the political scene, because that was the first time we were really learning about you. It was afterward. I saw a couple of long form interviews. One was with a guy I'm not crazy about, but Dave Rubin. I watched your sit down with Dave Rubin, and I said, wow, she really knows her stuff. And it really, watching that conversation, and the way you pushed back on a lot of, it's Dave Rubin, the way you pushed back on a lot of his nonsense, frankly, I was impressed. I said, wow, Marianne Williamson, she's really, she brings a lot more to the table than what we got to see during the debates, because as you know, during the debates, when you're on the end, you know, you only get a couple of times to really speak.
Well, it was even more than that, too, because there's a cognitive dissonance between what you were just saying, David Rubin interviews, and others, versus she's wacky, she's kooky, she's a crystal lady. You know, narratives are they are used as political weapons.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely.
And I'm sorry, but to speak freely, they like to use that kind of language when a woman is involved.
Thank you very much. If Cory Booker says that it's profound, if I say it, it's woo-woo.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Or emotional. Mm-hmm. Exactly. And that's part of what's wrong with our society. Unfortunately. But fortunately, there are a lot of women in this country who are coming back and fighting to end that.
Yeah, and at the same time, when I think of some of the weaponization of false information and so forth, certainly regarding me, it's been women as much as men.
Really? Mm-hmm. Jeez. See, I feel bad now.
We internalize a lot of misogyny, I think.
What do you mean? What do you mean? I'm curious. Can you expand on that?
I think when you talk about feminist thinking, I know men who are more feminist in their thinking, mm-hmm. in terms of really standing up for women. When I was growing up, and the sort of feminism of the era of, let's say, the 1970s, it was very understood that sisterhood was part of this. None of us would get there unless all of us get there. It seemed to be given equal weight, not just the idea of equal rights for women, but also women being there for other women. It was understood we needed that. And these days, I think a lot of so-called feminists don't seem to have a problem trashing other women in order to get what they call their equal rights.
Point taken. Absolutely, point taken.
I'm thinking of somebody specific. I don't know if you're familiar with her, or this might even be someone you had in mind. That I don't know her actual name, but she's on social media as Just Pearly Things.
I don't know her.
Okay, but she kind of does what you were talking about, where she kind of trashes other women, and it's strange to watch her.
I had one question for you. Something that I know is on a lot of Manchester residents' minds is our unemployed. Forgive me. Our homeless rate has gone up 54% in a year. And this is it's not just here. This is going on everywhere. A lot to do with inaccessible homes, rents going out of control. What are you thinking in your administration you would do to help lessen the population that we have that are homeless and help get people homed?
Homelessness is a symptom. And it is a symptom of an unfair economic system. That's why my economic Bill of Rights calls for many things that actually reduce the poverty rate to begin with. We have an eviction rate with over 3 million people were evicted from their homes last year. That's as high as it was during the housing crisis. So the moratorium on evictions that was put in place during the COVID emergency, lifting that moratorium is absurd. We should realize how many people who are homeless actually work full time.
That's a lot of,
And that goes back to things like what we were talking
Yep.
about with the insulin. So somebody says, what do I do? Do I try to stay alive and get my insulin, or do I pay my rent? They miss one rent check, and then they and their family are thrown onto the streets. So it's become a cliche to say poverty is a policy choice, but in very real ways it is. These are people who are at the effect of what is essentially an unjust economic system. So on one hand, you could say, well, there are 600,000 homeless people, and there are also 500,000 homes that could be, think of all the jobs you could create if we kind of had a Marshall Plan for housing.
Yes.
Also, we've got to stop with the commodification of housing that's now going on, the lack of adequate housing, affordable housing. All of those things that we know to be true. But I think we need more than anything to realize that it's all one problem. It's how many people in this country have been thrown away. That's what it is, whether it's people who don't have health care, people who don't have a place to live, people who don't have an education, people who have to work 2 or 3 jobs. It's a huge swath of human suffering, which is treated like an invisible throwaway to official political Washington. And until the American people recognize that and vote for a fundamental break with that system, then even if we had 500,000 houses that were turned into places for these people to live, there would still be more coming down the pike because the system does not address the fundamental needs of the American people.
Well, I like what you brought up about, there's homeless people who have jobs, who
That's
are employed,
right.
but they're just in a situation where they can't pay rent, certainly can't afford a mortgage. I think that's an important thing to remind people about, because a phrase that gets lost in a lot of dialogue that I think people need to learn is the phrase working poor. There are people, because people, I think there's a stigma. People look at homeless people and assume they just, they're too lazy to find a job or this and that. But like you said, a lot of homeless people have jobs.
Absolutely.
But they're just underwater.
Another terrible thing going on with a lot of that. Let's say somebody misses their rent, they get evicted, they have children, they're living in their car. So then the couple is terrified that if they send their kids to school, some school official is going to realize the child is living in the car and is going to call the Child Protective Services. So the parents are terrified the child will be taken away. So the parents take the kids out of school in order to homeschool them. Well, where are they going to get Wi-Fi? Mm-hmm. So then they're going into McDonald's to get on Wi-Fi, to be able to homeschool their kids. This is the amount of this is the layers of people being beaten down in this system. And like you said, it's working poor. It's good people. It's, we all know the cliches and every group has a shadow element, but that's not who the group is. And we need to realize that about the homeless. And also all these laws all over the country where they're criminalizing feeding the homeless.
Yeah.
There was recently a case in Texas. Unfortunately, the woman was acquitted. She was arrested for her organization feeding the homeless.
Yeah.
They are arresting people for feeding the hungry.
Yep.
Yeah, that's been a strange
I saw that. It was
trend.
horrible.
Yeah, we have a call, Marianne. If you'll take a call from a listener, our friend Shannon is on the line. Hi, Shannon.
What I was going to say is you were talking about the homeless population. What never gets mentioned is a building fire that displaces 5, 6 families.
Oh, sure.
And, they are now homeless unless they have some family or whatever,
Right.
Good point to remember.
So, yeah, that's another direction to go in. But
yeah, absolutely. Did you have a specific question for Marianne?
No, I not a question, just that statement that the homeless people aren't just the working poor and this, that, and everything else. That they're human beings, number one.
Mm-hmm.
Stop treating them like they're unsightly trash.
Yes. Agreed.
That's what Marianne was saying.
Homeless people, pick up your trash.
Yeah.
Come on, Maddie, say agreed. Matt, sorry. And just, I went, it doesn't matter. Just treat human beings
Yep, agreed.
like human beings.
Absolutely.
That's a cliche. Treat
Well,
people how you want to be treated.
Yeah, I think Marianne wants to respond.
Well,
Go ahead.
we say homeless people, and we tend to leave out the word people.
Right, exactly.
Well,
Yeah.
there are people that don't have to have they don't have
exactly.
walls and halls and doors and windows.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep, no, well said. All right, Shannon, well, we appreciate the call.
All right.
All right, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
All right, and we are taking calls. The studio line is open, 603-250-6007, 603-250-6007. Marianne Williamson is here if you're just joining us, and she is a presidential candidate running on the for the Democrats to challenge President Biden. And Marianne, can I ask, it's an indelicate question, but and I don't know if this is something you've addressed. I haven't heard you address this specifically, but I mean, in terms of President Biden, do you think he's too old?
I'm running against the president on issues.
Yeah.
I hesitate to talk about his age because for a couple of reasons. First of all, it just feels personal, and everybody can see the president's age. Everybody can hear how he speaks.
Yeah.
And also, I don't want to be ageist about it. I'm 71. So I just, the American people, the American voter does not need me to tell them the president's age.
True.
They don't need me to point out his gaffes or point out any of that.
Yeah.
Today he was in Hawaii, and he was telling people in Lahaina that he understands about the fire because he and Jill almost lost their Corvette and their cat when lightning struck their garage. And even though he said, I don't mean to be whatever, it was like cringe,
Yeah.
That is really cringy.
But you don't think that's somewhat a product of his, like, I don't know if Biden 10 years ago would have said that.
Well, that's kind of my point. But, even though I did just point it out, I mean, everybody hears. And it is legitimate to ask ourselves what that would be in someone going on for another 4 years.
Yeah.
It is legitimate to consider his vice presidential candidate. And it's legitimate to consider whether or not he's a strong candidate. The DNC would have us believe that because he beat Trump in 2020, that it follows that he would beat him or Vivek Ramaswamy or DeSantis or anyone else in 2024. And I think the biggest point here is that it's not supposed to be the DNC's decision. Mm-hmm. It should be the people in New Hampshire, in South Carolina, in Michigan, in Nevada, in these primary states that open up this dialogue. The role of the political party has traditionally been to stay in the background until the people have spoken. And then the people will decide, and then the party's supposed to swoop in at this point and support the candidate. Today, they don't even pretend. They're very overt about it. They're not even covert. They're saying, we will support the president, and then they've concocted this narrative about how this never happens. But it happens all the time. They say, but when Teddy Kennedy ran against Carter, I'm sorry. Teddy Kennedy did not defeat Carter. Ronald Reagan did. So... And also, in 2016, there were a lot of Republican candidates, and the Republicans still won. In 2020, there were a lot of Democratic candidates, and the Democrats still won. So this suggestion that a lot of candidates will endanger us, we all have to get, every time somebody says that to me, Marianne, we all have to just line up behind Biden. There's a fascist at the door. I always think to myself, wow, I bet you have health care, don't you? I bet you can send your kids to college, don't you? I bet you live on more than $15 an hour, don't you? I bet you can afford to live on just one job, can't you? This is, there is in sociology, they talk about the difference between a screaming emergency and a silent emergency. COVID was a screaming emergency. Mm-hmm. We all got that it was an emergency, but why was it given this official moniker of emergency? Because rich people got it too. So when the COVID emergency, when the president declared it over, sending millions of people off their SNAP benefits, millions of people off Medicaid, he said the emergency is over, go back to your lives. For millions of people, life was already an emergency. Homelessness is an emergency. Poverty is an emergency. Hunger is an emergency. Lack of health care is an emergency. Medical debt is an emergency. So there are the majority, and remember, we're talking here about the majority of Americans. The majority of Americans who live paycheck to paycheck.
Right.
And it's not only the poor and the near poor, it's the afraid of becoming poor. It's the living with the constant economic stress of what will happen if I lose my job.
Right.
It's
well, and healthcare is tied. We have a system in this country where healthcare is directly tied to your job in most cases.
And this is why so many people are working at jobs they hate. And then we talk about the mental health crisis as though that is separate from these things, as though economic anxiety and stress is not a primary, if not the primary source of the fact that people just can't take it. And then when we, they talk about intersectionality, and then that is related to the drug crisis and so forth. People are falling apart in front of our eyes, and we're supposed to go have another Biden-Trump election where the fact that people are falling apart in front of our eyes will politely be left out of the conversation.
The rematch nobody wants, but
well said.
They're certain to give it to us. That's for sure. Yeah, when you were talking too about challenging incumbents, I was thinking about you mentioned like Teddy Kennedy challenging Jimmy Carter and so forth. I was thinking about 1992 when right here in New Hampshire, Pat Buchanan damn near beat. In fact, I think it was a statistical tie. Damn near beat George H.W. Bush in the New Hampshire primary.
It's called democracy. There were actual elections, and you didn't know who was going to win, and you didn't have a sense of a political party putting their finger on the scale.
Yeah.
And for Democrats, this has been going on 2016 with Bernie, 2020 with Bernie. And what I'm seeing, we've got to stand up to this.
Yeah, I remember in 2016. The way the DNC, really kind of did put their thumb on the scale for Hillary. And in fact, in ways, we talked about debates. I remember they were, Debbie Wasserman Schultz made sure, this doesn't get pointed out very often, but she made sure that the debates were scheduled on Friday and Saturday nights when young people
would not be watching.
Sure. But that's who Bernie appealed to, was young people.
Well, in the New York Times poll that came out a week before last, in the tab that is people 18 to 29, Biden has 34%. I have 27%.
No kidding.
And Bobby Kennedy has 13%. Now, it's also interesting, why is that? Well, on one hand, it's policies, obviously, but there's something else. I can reach them because they're on TikTok, and it doesn't cost me money to get on TikTok. So they know what they're doing by blocking me on CNN. They know what they're doing blocking me on MSNBC. They know what they're doing calling me long shot, not a credible candidate, because it's their way of saying nothing to look at there, folks.
Yep.
Nothing to see there, folks. Just walk on by, nothing to see there. We've already got our candidate.
Right, but it does give you more time to go on. I mean, a lot of the shows, as you pointed out, they've got a younger audience, so it allows you to connect with those people. I mean, maybe you're better off, going on podcasts and radio shows that a younger audience is paying attention to than going on establishment media.
Well, you need both to reach. I mean, all Americans of every age matter.
Yeah,
and certainly the youth vote is extremely important, and it's important not only demographically in electoral sense, it's important morally. They're going to be here for another 40 or 50 years.
Right.
They deserve their voice. They're talking about their lives. Why are old people who probably will not be here in 20 years, how do they think they have the right to make all these decisions that will affect the lives of people who have another 40, 50, 60 years ahead of them? So a presidential candidate or any political candidate needs to try to reach all and every voter. I mean, there's no voter that doesn't count. I'm grateful to be on your show. You're grateful to be on independent media, and you need to have any opportunity you have to reach people.
Have you been able to penetrate that at all with like cable news? Has CNN had you on at all?
Well, Fox wants to have me on because they don't have a problem messing with the president.
Right,
so
right.
I get invited on Fox, and I've been on News Nation a little bit, and but CNN and MSNBC, even the people who had me last time quite a bit, And I just, I don't want to sound victimy or whiny or any of that because, that's not what this is about. It's just wrong.
So do you go on when Fox invites you?
Yes, because it's the only way you can reach people. And I remind you that you're in New Hampshire where there's an open primary.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are watching Fox in New Hampshire. So, yes, I go on. I mean, there's one show that I turned down this week that's not on Fox. It's another station.
Yeah.
But it was so obvious that it was only to screw the president. And,
Right.
And I'm not doing that. I'm not going to play that game. I'm not going to be used that way.
Yeah.
But on Fox, absolutely, News Nation.
Well, that's why they love to have RFK on. Like conservative media has really embraced him. I mean, part of it is some of the things he says, obviously, but also too. Yeah.
But once again, when you look at him, New Hampshire is an open primary. South Carolina is an open primary too. So, this is a very anybody who thinks that this is a predictable era and that what lies before us politically is predictable, I think is naive. There is a lot of energy rumbling up from the bottom of things. I think there's a profound political realignment going on in this country. And I don't think either major political party has any clue because they're in their own bubble of their own multi-billion-dollar corporate. Really, that's what they are.
Yeah.
And things will not remain the way they are. Things are going to break. They're either going to break in the direction of greater democracy and justice, and people who say, wait, we're going back to of the people, by the people, for the people, as opposed to of the corporations, by the corporations, for the corporations, or it's going to break in the direction of dystopia and neo-authoritarianism and some really horrifying prospects if we're not careful.
Is there an issue that you have been talking about that has been a kind of one of your main issues in your campaign that you feel is not getting talked about enough, that's kind of being ignored by the mainstream? Is there anything that you've been really...
the mainstream is ignoring me anyway. So, of course, everything I talk about is being ignored by the mainstream.
Sure.
But I think there are some things that I wish to emphasize. One thing, for instance, I want a Department of Children and Youth. We need to do a massive movement of resources in the direction of children 10 years and younger. I don't think that we are beginning to grapple with what it means that we are now raising a generation of young children praying every morning they will not get shot at school. So you think we have a mental health crisis now. You just wait 10 or 15 years. If we want a thriving economy and a thriving society 10, 15, 20 years from now, our job is to take much better care of our children 10 years old and younger today. Everybody talks about trauma-informed education. We need to ask ourselves, why do we need? Something is very wrong in a society that needs so much, quote-unquote, trauma-informed education. I have met elementary school principals who say they have elementary school students on suicide watch. We have children in this country who are traumatized before kindergarten. So I want to be the children's president. And I want every public school in America to be a palace of culture and learning and the arts. So that is an emphasis. Also, I want a Department of Peace, and I want this profound economic U-turn. And I think that ending the drug war is important as well. So, yeah, I have some things to say that are quite different than both Biden and Bobby.
What about, I want to ask you about immigration, too. And obviously, I know you're originally from Texas.
Yes.
And sometimes people in border states have a little bit of a different perspective than we do, say, here in the Northeast. So I'm curious to ask you about your immigration policy and what, my position. We talk about it a lot on the show. I feel that we need a massive overhaul of the entire immigration system.
Of course we do. And much of the problem is due to congressional inaction over the last few decades. But also a lot of the problem has to do with American foreign policy in Latin America over the last few decades. And that includes not only supporting people who were the bad guys, to be quite honest, because we thought the good guys were communists or socialists. And in fact, in many cases, the people that we did not support are the ones who would have promoted a more stable economy. Secondly, and this goes back to what we were talking about, the drug war. The horror that most of the people from Latin America are seeking to escape has to do with the drug cartels.
Oh, yeah.
Ending the drug war will not solve the problem completely, but it will help. In the meantime, when you talk about the crisis at the border, a lot of it, when certain voices in our society talk about the crisis at the border, they're talking about a different crisis than the one that matters to me. And the one they're talking about is not even a crisis, actually, given how many jobs are open and available that native-born Americans are not looking to fill, thank you very much, that many of these immigrants are. That's number one. And number two, we need to own, on an emotional level, the humanitarian crisis. If the average American had any idea what some of these people, most of these people actually, are seeking to escape. Now, are there people trying to game the asylum system? Yeah, there actually are.
Of course,
and we should not allow that to happen. But for the most part, if we're gonna just shut not just our borders but our hearts, then let's take down that Emma Lazarus poem. Let's just not pretend. Let's just not be these hypocrites. Give me your huddled masses yearning to breathe free, because we don't even mean it anymore. So we've got to decide: are we a compassionate society or not? The idea that we don't have, quote unquote, won't have room for these people, actually we do. And if you look at the statistics, the immigrant population does more to contribute to our economy, not just to our culture and to our society, which should be obvious to anyone, to our economy. And most of these undocumented people, they don't want to be undocumented. We force people into the shadows. We have draconian immigration laws, and so absolutely this needs to be overhaul. But I'll tell you something. I think if there's any common thread to my candidacy and would be to my administration is do right by people and everything's going to repair itself.
Yeah.
Just do right by people and gradually things are going to right. The ship is listing so far to one side. And what those voices of the political class would say is that these ideas are so far left or so radical. I remind you, they're considered moderate positions in every other advanced democracy. But more than that, what's radical is what the neoliberal vulture capitalist system has done. That is what's radical. What's radical is that over the last 50 years, there has been a $50 trillion transfer of wealth into the hands of 1% of Americans. That's what's radical. What's radical is that 1 in 4 Americans live with medical debt in the richest country in the world, that 68,000 people a year die of lack of health care, that one-third of Americans live on less than $15 an hour and half of them cannot find a place to live, that half of our seniors live on less than $25,000 a year. That is what's radical. So what I'm saying is just bring the ship back to a semblance of a situation in which everyone has a chance. That's the American dream, that people have a chance, that if they work hard enough, they can manifest and make their dreams come true. It used to be that the American dream was to buy a house. Today, the American dream for millions of people is to get out of debt before they die.
Yeah.
Debt is crippling. And these loans that these kids are carrying, I can't even imagine being in my 20s. I don't know if I've been in my 20s with tens of thousands of dollars of college loan debt, which they only took out because they're trying to better their lives.
Right.
This is so wrong. And that's why these loans should be forgiven, because they should never have existed to begin with.
Well, Biden did try to do that, and then it got...
there are those who believe if he had just come in and canceled the whole thing, and he still has ways that he could do more.
Yeah, I don't know.
But, he tries to have it both ways. He wants to help people, but he doesn't want to offend, the bankers. He doesn't want to offend those corporate donors. And so far it's, the American people should have a chance to decide whether or not that is an adequate response to the challenges of our time.
Well, he's been a product of Washington going back 50 years of
and
Washington, D.C.
Including he was arguing, he was the one who helped push the bill, which said that you could not go bankrupt and get out of your college loan debt.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And the crime bill.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like on some of these issues, like immigration, to me, is because, as you said, that's been a problem for decades, and we can't seem to get... we'll get a little bit of action on it here and there, but I feel like the ball, it doesn't really get moved down the field much in either direction over the decades. And I feel like part of what I feel is broken about our politics is there's money in solving problems, but there's also money in not solving problems. Meaning, for example, if immigration never gets solved in any meaningful way, both Democrats and Republicans can continue to raise money off of the issue. So even if you don't solve the problem, there's still money in it for you. I mean, our two-party political system, it's like, it's like failing up. You can fail at solving problems, but if you talk about solving them or look like you're trying to solve them, that's good enough, and people will give you money.
Well, look at what happened with Roe v. Wade. I mean, it should have been codified by the Democrats years ago. It should have been codified under Obama, who said he wanted to do that when he was a candidate, but then said he didn't want to spend his political capital on that. And it should have been codified the first 2 years of at the beginning of the Biden presidency. But much as you were saying, there was so much money raised on, vote for us, or we could lose Roe v. Wade. Well, guess what? We did vote for you, and we did lose Roe v. Wade.
Yeah, I said the same thing with the debt ceiling when we went through that last round and Marianne, I can tell you, I was Jenny knows, I was pessimistic. And I try to be an optimist on the show. I really thought we might go over the fiscal cliff. I really thought this might be it. And of course it wasn't, thank goodness. But I said the same thing you were saying about Roe v. Wade. When the Democrats had control, they should have finally done away with the debt ceiling.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's totally ridiculous. Well, also, I think the president shouldn't have even negotiated. He should have just, what is it, the 14th Amendment? I can't remember. No, that couldn't be the 14th.
No, it is. Yeah, that's in the 14th Amendment. Well, that would have been, see, I disagree with you there. I think that would have been that would have been scary. We would have been in uncharted water there.
Well, why though?
All it would have taken is some judge to put an injunction on him. I mean, we don't even know how exactly it would have been invoked, how it would have been implemented. I think that would have been very dangerous.
I think the Democrats blink too much.
I think there's, I do somewhat agree with you on that point, because I think, I hear Cenk Uygur say it all the time, Republicans can be ruthless, but Democrats tend to want to just play nice. And
that's right.
And
I agree with
whisper.
Cenk on that.
Yeah,
the Republicans consider the fact that they won the election their mandate. And as we're well aware, they have no problem overreaching and abusing power. But Democrats won't even use the power that they're given.
Yeah.
Right? Well, we didn't get a mandate. We'll have to wait till the second term. And then things don't change in the second term. Well, it's really important that we win again so that maybe we can, the milquetoast. And I think people don't like that. People like to see spine in their leaders. We need a mother in the White House. You can take that however you want, though.
I remember after Roe v. Wade was overturned and seeing Kamala Harris, I think it was Dana Bash on CNN interviewing her. And yeah, she kind of had that thing that you were just doing where she's like, yeah, well, what can you do? You got to vote for more of us.
You got to vote for more Democrats, man.
Yeah,
That'll fix it.
Yeah.
And I'm running as a Democrat. I do want you to vote for more Democrats, but they're different. They're Democrats, and then there are Democrats. And much as you were saying earlier, the corporatist Democrats today are what Republicans were when I was growing up.
Well, it's like I remember Paul Wellstone,
he said, "I'm from the Democratic wing of the Democratic Party."
Yep,
exactly.
Yep.
Exactly my point. That I would see myself as a Paul Wellstone Democrat.
I'm curious too. Have you been courted by any third parties who have come to you and said?
Years ago, I was. Years ago, the Green Party had asked me to.
Okay.
But not. No, I feel. I'm nostalgic for the Democratic Party of my youth. I'm nostalgic historically for the Democratic Party of Franklin Roosevelt. I don't, I'm aware that third-party voices have been very important in the United States. Abolition came from the Abolitionist Party. Women's suffrage came from the Women's Party. Social Security came from the Socialist Party. And I'm not pleased, nor should any American be pleased, with the way Democratic and Republican parties have formed this unholy alliance, making it very difficult for third parties to have the significant voice.
Yeah.
Having said that, I also think that the soul of the Democratic and the Republican Party need to be retrieved for the sake of this country. I think a lot of people, understandably, criticizing the corporate duopoly, which I certainly agree with, but let's not be naive about third parties too, because the problem is with political parties, period. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And any system can be corrupted.
Yeah. No labels seems, well, there's a lot of suspicions about what they're really up to. Have they approached you or probably not?
No.
Yeah.
I don't think they would want me in there. They want a Democrat and a Republican, but from the corporate duopolistic
Right. Yes.
worldview. Yeah.
They certainly do.
That world where it seems like they're different, but they're really not so much, or certainly not when it comes to big oil or defense contractors. They all, fall in line for the same guys.
We have just a quick question in the chat room, and then we know you got to go. But Tom Blanchard is asking, what do you think about taxing business? One president raised taxes on business, and a lot of them left the country.
That's just nonsense, because when you look back at the 1950s and 60s and even 70s, when we had these very high tax rates for these companies, they were here.
Yeah.
They were here. So I think that's the threat. Oh, they'll leave. Well, look how many are leaving now.
Right.
The ones who are going to leave, they're leaving now. So I do not. What is it we're supposed to be afraid of? If we tax them more and we have more money to take care of people, then in that point, let them leave if they want to leave. But the evidence is not that they would, and the evidence is that we should be afraid of how many of them are leaving right now, because we are actually making it easier for them in many cases because of these trade deals to leave.
Well, on that note, it is almost the top of the hour. Marianne Williamson, thank you so much. It's wonderful to meet you.
Thank you.
I hope we can do this again in the future. I assume you're spending a lot of time in our state. So.
I am, and I hope that people will go to Marianne2024.com and sign up so that I can let you know when I'm back. I would be very grateful for that.
Excellent.
Thank you.
All right, I'm gonna play a song here and for the crossover, and then. Oh, here we go. And then we'll let you scoot. All right. Marianne, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Fight the power. Fight the power.
Welcome back, everybody, as we enter hour number 2, numero dos of Matt Connarton Unleashed. And we are live from the studios of WMNH 95.3 FM in glorious downtown Manchester, New Hampshire. Also now on Comcast Channel 6 in Manchester. And hello to all of our online listeners across the nation and around the globe. You can go to my website, mattconnarton.com, for all your live streaming options, social media links, contact info, show archives, etc., etc. Jenny is here, of course, at the news desk.
Present and accounted for.
And a little while ago in the first hour, we had Marianne Williamson here, presidential candidate. So if you missed it, that'll be up later in the archive. Check it out. And we have joining us, let me make sure I got the right mics on here. Cody Pope and Byron G have returned to the show. Hey, guys.
Hello. Thank you so much for having us back.
Oh, yeah. No, we're very excited to have you. Got a lot of positive response from last time you guys came in and performed live. And do you want to tell us what's been going on since last time you were here?
Yeah, absolutely. So actually a year ago today, Byron and I had released our debut collaborative album, Meet Me in Gate City, and that's what we came in here and performed songs from.
Yes.
And so this week we release our follow-up, which is an EP called Pound of Flesh. That'll be available everywhere Friday on all streaming platforms and on hellhoundpublishing.com.
Cool.
So we thought, because we had such a great time here last time, that a cool way to show these songs to the world for the first time would be to perform them here, so people could see a different rendition of what they'll get when they listen to the recorded version.
Very cool. Very cool.
Nice.
Byron, let's see if we got some signal coming out of that machine there.
All right.
I'm gonna very gingerly bring the fader up, and we'll see what we got.
Okay. I'm on now.
I hear something, but it's low. But that might, you know what that might be, because this is low. Let me see here.
Maybe we will get it.
Ooh.
Oh, there we go.
There we go. There's
there it
something.
is.
There we go.
How does that sound? Does that sound okay in on your end? I know those headphones have some buzz, but
A little bit. It's not bad, though.
Yeah.
How's the volume for you?
It's a little quiet in my headset.
yeah, I'll bring.
Okay.
I've got it low on the board.
Okay.
I'll bring it up and kind of mix on the fly. But
Sure.
just want to make sure we got signal. All right, cool. All right, so these guys, do you want to jump into the first song, and then we'll talk for a bit?
Yeah. So this is the opening song from our new EP, Pound of Flesh. This song is called Keyholder's Theme Song.
All right.
key, dog. Open the gate. Let them suckers know that we don't play.
Unlock the key, dog.
Open the gate.
Let them suckers know that
We don't play.
Unlock the key, dog.
Open the gate.
Byron tear the keys, Pope tearing the page. Being warm make us rugged, others wearing away. Ready for opposition, even if fair they don't play. We don't care what they say, cause we paving the way. When others look down, we look as straight as a blade. Sharper than the barber with the barbed wire armor. I don't need a Dalai Lama to tell me about my problems. Vision clarity, Charizard rarity. We who they scared to be, or maybe who they dare to be. They need therapy, a blunt and a nice cap. Maybe a dog or a prisoner who right back. Anyone but the father who just said he'll be right back. Needed smokes, but he can't find the right pack. Me and my dogs, we just out for the nightcap. No fashionistas, we just needin' the right cap. Pair of Vans, a hoodie and a jacket. I keep a simple style, something others lacking. It's profound, forge of the Gate City sound. This for the ones with their boots on the ground. Unlock the lock.
The gatekeepers are here.
Protecting what we built, son.
Have no fear.
We didn't build a scene.
For you to disgrace it.
We molded the keys.
You'll just have to face it.
This for every motion that make a move for the town. All this commotion might locomotive the crowd. Shelter Fodies, Garden, Christopher Sopranos, Hellhound, Jalapeno, Ghost Pepper, two Poblanos. Attitude Thanos, might catch me watching Chronos. Meal prep healthy, but still find myself McDonald's. This whole jam just for workers to thrive to. Pray you make enough to want one, but can buy two. Moved a little street rock, tried to hang sheetrock, but my whole life changing my words made the beat rock. Byron and Cody, the new CL and Pete Rock. Except we don't beef, we just trying to see stocks. Grow out weed crops and drop more music. Liquid asset dreams got us moving more fluid. To make the long haul, you can't be stupid. Make a mistake, you just gotta keep it moving. Unlock the lock.
The gatekeepers are here.
Protecting what we built, son.
Have no fear.
We didn't build a scene.
For you to disgrace it.
We molded the keys.
You'll just have to face it.
That was awesome.
Nice.
Sweet, thank you.
Nice.
It's our first time ever doing that.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Nice.
Yeah, if you're just joining us, Cody Pope and Byron G are here with us live in studio. And if you have any questions or anything for these guys or feedback or anything at all, 603-250-6007. The studio line is open, 603-250-6007. You can also text me at 617-917-4476. I'm on social media at Matt Connarton. You can email me, matt@mattconnerton.com. And of course, you can interact and opine in the Facebook live chat. But the best thing to do so that we can hear and enjoy your dulcet tones is give us a call at 603-250-6007, 603-250-6007. So that was the first time you guys doing that track live?
Yeah.
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 Yep.
That's pretty much our first time ever doing that outside of the studio.
Is it are you nervous when you perform a song like that live the first time, or do you feel pretty confident with it going in?
Oh no, I'm super nervous. You know, we like put so much time and energy and re-recording, and there's so much that goes into it that you think that when the time comes to unveil it, that you're going to be ready. But there's always that like instinctual, like, oh, you know, if I just had a little more time, we could do a little differently. Yeah. But if we did that, we would never put anything out. You know.
Right.
So I'm very proud of what people are gonna hear. Yeah. It's also that like nervous feeling of like, oh boy, this is a lot different now. Like hopefully they react well.
Yeah. But how do you know when it's done? Like, do you guys both just kind of have to, like, you're both at that point where you can agree that it's done, or do you ever disagree about, like, does one of you think it's done and the other one of you says, I don't know?
So
that definitely happens.
Yeah. So it's hard. So because we do all the mixing and mastering in house as well. Yeah. So it's hard to like let it go. You know. So we're both kind of learning to just let it go, man. We spent hours on it. For this one alone, it was 4 tracks, but we put hours and hours and hours into it, mixing it down the correct way and mastering it, making it sound the way that we want to sound. Yeah. And there's always that, all right, man, like we try to set dates for ourselves, which definitely helps. So when the date comes up, like that last final week, it's like, all right, let's get all these ducks in a line. Let's just finish this stuff and put it out. You know? Yeah. So
no, it makes sense. And so is it a 4-track EP that's coming out? Yeah. Okay. Now, was the previous one also an EP, or was that a full?
No. So Meet Me in Gate City was a full length that had about 14 songs on it. Part of the reason why we have like a full length in the can ready to go, and I think it's safe to say both of us very much come from album culture.
Yeah.
And that's very much our forte. But over the last year, through examining how people gauge the record, the physical media collectors gravitated to it, and it did great. We did multiple CD runs. You know, it really resonated with people.
Yeah.
In the digital and the streaming world, it didn't quite have the same gravity.
Interesting.
And I think a lot of that has to do with the way that music consumption happens right now. And so it was kind of our responsibility to try and adapt to that at some point. And so this is kind of like, we have enough music for an album, but people aren't consuming albums in whole like that, in at least in our genre. I don't want to make like general statements because, like I said, I love albums. There's people out there that appreciate them, but I guess from a consumer standpoint, that's not the thing that sells the most right now.
Yeah.
So our thought was like, well, the songs that would have been our album, we had a whole album follow-up planned for Meet Me in Gate City, and we just decided to take that and kind of microdose it, for lack of a better term. And so we have a bunch of small EPs that we're going to drop and let that kind of go into next year. And then hopefully next year our audience will be ready to receive the album that we've been waiting to give them.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand what you're saying, though. I think people are just, when it comes to downloading music, people are just used to downloading singles or maybe even an EP, but downloading a full album, it's like, wow, really?
Right, yeah.
Unfortunately, I think it has shifted that way. But I guess too, like, there's an advantage to just doing an EP in that at least you're getting things out there quicker because with social media and all of it, you know, you have to kind of feed the machine, right?
Yeah,
exactly. I mean, we hadn't released anything with us two, music wise, since last year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
literally a year from today.
Yeah.
Is when Meet Me in Gate City came out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So we've been kind of, we've been putting out a lot of other records under the label, a lot of instrumental albums. We did a couple other hip hop albums with vocalists and stuff. But we were just fiending at this point to get something out there and do it different from what we did the first time.
Yeah, yeah. But, so some of the albums you've been releasing on the label are instrumentals?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are those generally, I mean, I assume there's an audience for that, obviously, or you wouldn't be doing it, but are those generally well received?
Yeah. A lot, it takes, obviously like any album in any genre, it takes an artist to really get behind it and push their work.
Yeah.
But with a lot of the producers we work with, there's such a cool beat making scene and like a drum machine based scene where it doesn't involve rappers. You can just have like 15 beat makers go up on stage and play their music and people will dance and vibe and hang out. And so we found artists that really cater to that, and they all kind of do a different thing where it's like Byron has an instrumental album out. You would say that's very like modern hip hop feel, very like almost like ambient, but still like heavy drums. And then we've put out lo-fi instrumentals as well. We have an artist that put out a more like electronic, almost like a Aphex Twin kind of like really wild EDM record.
Yeah.
And so a lot of it is, it's great for people that do videos. It's great for soundtracking. It's great for, syncing under different visuals and stuff like that. It kind of goes back to the idea of music consumption where I love instrumental music, whether it's like, like an Explosions in the Sky kind of band or like a Byron instrumental record.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just don't need vocals. I'm a vocalist, so I got words running through my head all the time. So it's nice to just have like something, just like a background. So
something you don't got to think about. Right. Put it on and just relax.
Yeah.
Hang out.
Yeah.
Do some laundry or, whatever.
Well, I would imagine too, like some aspiring rappers might be, listening to these instrumentals and practicing rapping over them.
Yeah.
We have a call. Our friend Shannon is on the line. Hey, Shannon, you got a question for these guys?
Yes, I do. Hello, gentlemen. How are you?
Hello.
Doing
We're great. How are you?
Good. What I was going to ask or let you know is, and you can Google this later. Opus 1.
Oh,
okay,
yeah.
It's one of the songs that are played on hold you know, you call a place, you get put on hold, you get the hold music.
Yeah.
Yep.
So your instrument, a kid wrote that. It's got, I don't know his last name. His first name was Tim. I think he said he was 16 or 17 when he wrote it, and he just gave it away.
Oh,
wow.
He didn't sell it, so make sure, you know, if you make something, you know, snazzy, jazzy enough to be a hold music, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
He'd probably be rich right now if he sold it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, hey, you never know.
That's right.
Right. Everybody needs some music.
That's right.
I mean, there was one gentleman that used to call a place and specifically say, "Can you please put me on hold? I just want to hear the music." I'd like to do that with the fire department. Has the best. MFD has the best hold music.
Oh my gosh,
Just saying.
I don't know if I've ever heard it.
Yeah.
Well, Shannon, I hope you're not calling the fire department just to hear the hold music.
Oh my!
Well, no, I wish I could though. Just call. Just, let me hear some of that electric guitar for a few minutes.
We'll have to like.
Can you guys send me an MP3 of this?
Yeah, give him a call and screen record the sound or something.
Well, I'm just saying, if anybody ever says, you know, hey, I'd like to have this, you've been warned. Don't just give it away.
That's
Make
right.
sure
No way.
you
Great
CYA.
advice. Thank you.
Hey, I just made a rhyme.
Gotta get you over here.
One of us.
There you go. All right, Shannon.
Alrighty.
All right.
Thank you, Shannon.
Thank you for the call.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Always nice to hear from Shannon. That does open up the studio line for you, 603-250-6007, 603-250-6007. We have Cody Pope and Byron G here. I'd love to hear another song if you guys want to.
Yeah,
do
on
that one.
track too.
Yeah. This track is called Manifest.
How's the volume on that? Was that good? The
Yeah.
track
I think
was
so.
all right? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I haven't touched it, so I'll leave it where it was. Excellent. All right. Cody Pope and Byron G live in studio.
Cash and rain checks, water in what we planted. Started the garden over where we crash landed. Cash handed in stacks, plan what we do this for. Fulfill the passion, what we do this music for. New Hampshire's answered them, where in the heck have you been at? True in fact, been holding the granite on our back. Cody and Byron champion level without a coach. The type to smoke the whole beat, way past the roach. We logging long hours cooking and building the system. It took a minute to win it, but now we built to kill it. See, we grind like the tools that turn the wheat to dust. Byron cooked the beat and you know I'm gonna feed the gut. Working class, coming for our fair share. Looking like we came from the woods with all this bare hair. They're just two guys who sacrificed their lives, who understand the road that comes way past the prize. Daily, 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 it doesn't get very different. Things change, but never switching the mission. Some give up, decide they're gonna fall back. Some claim real, but quitting not what I call that. Daily, 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 it doesn't get very different. Things change, but never switching the mission. Some give up, decide they're gonna fall back. Some claim real, but quitting not what I call that. Even through evolution, I've been the same me. What I meant back then is still plain to see. I was built on principles some would call old. Having loyalty and honor's what you call soul. All told, there were times I almost didn't make it. Nah, can't fake it when I know I can really attain it. Rearranged and together now like meth and preem. Vault filled with a lot of gems to set the stream. Days don't pass questioning this crash course. Wouldn't be mad if raps bought the RAV4. Doing these laps, maybe not always sure, but this the thing that got me always wanting more. Different kind of pride to feed your family with your passion. Trying to pay the mortgage and the groceries with my rapping. Living, breathing proof that rap can be the path to freedom. Charting your own path can be the reason you don't need them. Daily, 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 it doesn't get very different. Things change, but never switching the mission. Some give up, decide they're gonna fall back. Some claim real, but quitting not what I call that. Daily, 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 it doesn't get very different. Things change, but never switching the mission. Some give up, decide they're gonna fall back. Some claim real, but quitting not what I call that.
Nice.
Thank you. That was the second song off our Pound of Flesh EP. That one was called Manifest.
Very cool. Very cool. Will Vegas is in the Facebook live chat, says smooth flow, great lyrics.
Awesome. Thank you.
I got to give him a shout out too. I had the pleasure of spending some time with Will Vegas earlier today at Will's auto service, and great service actually. Will is fantastic. So I highly recommend him. You can hear him occasionally on the morning show. He's popped in a few times, or on he joined us on a Friday night on a Retro Spectrum Radio with Paulie C a number of months ago, and I cannot recommend him enough. So, and JFed is in the chat room and says, have you thought about increasing the length of your beard? I don't know if that's for one of you or both of you. This seems to be his new question. So we'll start with you, Cody Pope. Have you thought about increasing the length of your? You've got a lot of beard already.
Yeah, it's funny. I've actually taken a lot of beard off.
I was gonna say that's kind of short for you.
Yeah, I my normal beard length is honestly probably like down to here.
Yeah,
it just is. It's so hot in the summer, and now I besides us like performing all the time, I also do event coordination for like Harley Davidsons and stuff. So it's like I'm always outside and in the heat. So I would just be melting if I had any. I can't get rid of the beard because it's like a staple of my personality. But man, I've been trying to trim it up a little bit just to see what I can get away with.
Right. And Byron, now you've got a beard kind of like mine. It's short,
super short.
You always keep it short.
When it grows out, it just gets all long and mangy. I can't do it.
Yeah,
it's just
salt and
not
pepper
a good
savior, dude.
Not a good look for me.
No, I get it. I've never grown mine out either. I couldn't do that.
No.
To me it just looks like hell in the summer.
Same. I can't put in the extra effort. I'm not trying to comb it. I just shave it.
It's like walking around with a wool cap on your face. That's what it looks like to me. I couldn't do it.
If it looked cool, and if it was like, because his is like thick.
Yeah.
Mine is not. It's all long and weird and grays. Keep it like, it's just not good.
Will Vegas points out ODB was a mangy rapper.
He was.
Yeah, he was.
Absolutely. Let's see. Isaac Banks is asking, what's your favorite Heavy D and the Boys rap song?
Now That We Got Love, what are we going to do with it?
My dad likes that song.
I love Heavy D and the Boys.
Yeah.
You know what's so funny is I feel like both times that we've come on now, people have asked us about that specifically.
Heavy D?
Yeah.
Really?
I feel like
right.
on the last episode somebody called in too and was like, "Yo, you guys like Heavy D and the Boys?"
It's
like,
funny.
That's
Today,
cool though. I like your audience for that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Today at work, on break, I was watching an episode of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and Heavy D was actually in that episode today.
Oh, no kidding.
Rest in peace, Heavy
Rest
D.
in peace.
Wow. You guys want to play another? Song?
Yeah, sure.
All right, I'm dying to hear another one. If you're just joining us, we have Cody Pope and Byron G here with us in studio, and they're performing some songs from the upcoming EP. It comes out Friday, you said?
Yeah, it comes out Friday everywhere.
Very good, very good.
This one is track 3.
An extra special treat today.
Yeah. All right.
No, this is for us too.
Yeah.
All right. Whenever you guys are ready.
Eyes wide open, feeling the dilation. Could have died from all the supplies I've taken. I won't lie, the taste is something I'm chasing. I can't deny that without it, life's hard to face. Climb the aggro crag, playing tag with the dragon. Who do I text? Whoever I know is bagging. If I can't get it, I'll hit your mom's liquor cabinet. When I need mine, you can't say no, I'm just not having it. Freeze! I'm hot now, this comes in cycles. My name is Cody, but I play the game like Michael. Wild, hungry, eating thornberries. The storm is coming, I suggest you warn many. Patience is a virtue I'm chasing, often replaced with energy conducting that's ultimately a waste. The taste, my decisions leave me with this sour. Try to do the right thing, but don't always have the power. I got the power, but don't always make the right choice. Listen to myself, don't always pick the right voice. Evil on my shoulder is easy, cause it's the light choice. Feels good now how I make the wrong life choice. I got the power, but don't always make the right choice. I listen to myself, don't always pick the right voice. Evil on my shoulder is easy, cause it's a light choice. Feels good now how I make the wrong life choice.
Did the panning get you guys?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
No, we did that on purpose.
That was good. That was good.
Oh, thank you.
And Byron, so what is that? What is it that you're using over there for an instrument?
So this is the legendary Roland SP404. It's the MK2. And this is pretty much the exact setup that I bring to our live shows.
Oh, okay.
This thing, it's small, it packs a punch, and you're able to manipulate the beats live. I'm kind of holding back a little bit now because it's all brand new, these tracks, and messing around. But we bring this to every live show. It's super simple. Instead of bringing around a laptop, which probably has a lot of valuable information and all your tracks and whatnot, I keep that at home. I bring this in my little podium. And simple, quick, not in the way, something different to bring to the live show.
Yeah, no, understandable. And obviously that gives you more flexibility. You know, last time we were here, we used the flash drive and whatnot. Yeah. But with that, you can do what. I mean, do you ever kind of vary what you're doing while you're performing live with that?
Always, yeah. Everything's pretty much on the spot with this thing.
It's pretty safe to say we never do the same show twice.
Yeah, it's pretty much impossible to get those chops and the EQ sweeps, and there's a whole bunch of different crazy effects that you could add, and there's just so much that you're probably not going to do the same thing every time and for each song unless you unless you practice it for hours or whatever. But no, it's cool. You can make beats with it. A lot of people use this as a lot of producers use this as their basically main hub and run all of their their DAW and everything through this, because it has a compressor in it that is people buy this just for the compressor.
Really? Yeah.
In it. So it does a lot. It's good to us.
Yeah. Very cool. Will Vegas in the chat room says R.I.P. Big Pun.
Yes.
You guys like Big Pun?
Absolutely.
Legend.
Man.
And
one of the best.
JFed is asking, as a performer, do you believe you might be able to perform while taking an ice bath? Or while taking a he said cold bath, but he's a purveyor of the ice bath. We may very well have had this conversation the last time you guys were here. I don't know if this sounds familiar at all.
No, it doesn't.
But how can it not? He does it to everybody.
I know. I don't always
telling you, you're going to go there for a birthday party and he's going to dunk you into an ice bucket.
Yeah, he's trying to get, for Melanie, he's trying to get somebody to go there to perform in Vermont.
We love Vermont.
At a birthday party, yes. But I think if you agree to do it, he'll probably try to talk you into the ice bath.
I mean, I'm honestly not wholly opposed to it.
Well, this time of year.
Is there a bonus involved?
I mean, this time of year it's a little cold, but I will say that I've definitely heard that ice is the best recovery for athletics and training and all that stuff. I'm a big MMA nerd, so
are you? Yeah.
I always, you always see them doing the little ice baths and stuff.
True.
So I'm like, I'd like to think I would handle it.
Yeah.
Oh, he's out there in the dead of winter. I mean,
boy,
that's dedicated.
That's negative conditions. He's out there. You're like,
that's I feel like it's a lifestyle thing. Once people get their bodies acclimated to it, it just becomes a refresher.
I wish I was that tough.
Yeah,
I'll take pictures.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, I just JFed says you could do it. I don't know.
You can do it.
I just worry about hypothermia, things like that.
Just little things like that, digits falling off. Ooh, they weren't your thumb.
Now what's happening with the label? So how many artists are you guys working with currently?
So right now, obviously we have our collaborative stuff as well as solo stuff. We also have another instrumental record coming out this fall from a producer who lives in Canada now. His name's Neek 100. He used to be based out of Boston. He has this really cool, sample heavy, kind of avant-garde, heavy jazz hip hop sound.
Yeah.
It's really good.
So that's going to be coming out this fall. We have a record coming out from an artist named Q Quick from New Hampshire, which is a really interesting story because a lot of people know him for his production. He makes beats for a lot of hip hop artists, and he does a lot of graphic design work. But I had a record label years ago when we had first met, and we had recorded a hip hop album for him that he produced all the beats and rapped over, and it just never came out. And so I kind of like poked the bear this year and was like, what do you think about us putting this out? And so we got together and chopped it up, and so we're going to put together a plan to put that out. So we'll have the Neek 100 instrumental album coming out. We'll have Q Quick's hip-hop EP coming out. We have a bunch of music ourselves coming out. Like we were saying, we got a bunch of EPs that we're going to drop throughout the remainder of the year. 8Bizza, who I think you're familiar with. 8Bizza.
Yeah, he's been on the show a couple times. Not recently, but I've interviewed him. Yeah.
He's been steady working on all sorts of different things, and a few years back he put out his like seminal producer album, Bobby's Boom Bap Recital, and it didn't get like a full wide distribution. It was like only on Bandcamp. So we worked out something with him so that we can put out like a CD and distributed version of it so that people can hear it, because it's a brilliant album. It's really is. He like mastercrafted the whole thing, picked all the verses out over a couple years, you know, picked the right rappers, put them on songs with people that he thought would do well. It's a brilliant album,
top to bottom.
It's definitely something that, as like somebody who's like a physical music collector, it deserves to be on like a CD or vinyl or something like that. So we're excited to put that out as well.
Yeah.
And we got a couple other records, but it's tough. We can't like talk about all of them yet, but we've got a lot of stuff in the pipeline for this year as well as next year, and we're hoping this time next year our next full length will be out by then.
Very cool. Our friend Shannon is back on the line. Hi, Shannon.
Hi, sorry, call back, but
that's okay.
That last song you just played, it had like a, correct me if I'm wrong, but like a Middle Eastern, Turkish background. The woman
like
singing.
the sample.
Yeah, thank you. I don't know the terms.
Yep.
Yeah.
Have you ever got? I don't know what one of these looks like. I just heard it. What the name of it is? An oud. It's it's sort of like an Arabic or Turkish guitar.
Oh,
I know.
I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. I don't know what I'm talking about.
I know what you mean, Shan. I'm not sure how to pronounce it either, but I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
It's pronounced oud because it's how they pronounce it on the radio. But then again, they are wrong sometimes.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna.
But that would be neat to incorporate. You know, that if you could find one.
Absolutely.
I don't know. It's just an idea.
No, that's I like all of your ideas so far.
Yeah. There you go.
Alrighty.
All right, Shannon.
Thank you, Shannon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. All right. Well, we heard from Shannon again. 603-250-6007 is the studio line. If you'd like to join us, 603-250-6007. That must be I don't know. Is it a relief in a way to have that? Is it Q Quick? Is that the name of the artist who's you're going to be releasing that finally?
Yeah.
Because it's I always think it's a shame when you hear about music that gets recorded and then never released.
It is.
You know, it seems wrong somehow, you know? So it must be nice to finally be getting that out.
It really is.
Yeah.
And I can say from experience, too, that sometimes it's a good test because the way, you know, like we were talking about music consumption and all of that, so many people, because technology allows you to, we could record a song in here, take it home, mix it and master it all night, upload it to distro tomorrow, and it'll be online in the next couple days, or it'll be up on, you know, SoundCloud or our website within a couple minutes.
Yeah.
But the issue with that is that it creates a disposability with music. And so I ran into it where I'd taken a hiatus for a couple of years, and so I went back and listened to songs that I had done in that time. And some of those songs stood the test of time, and they were great. They had been 5 years old, 6 years old, 3 years old, however long. And that made up an album that was like my return album before him and I did ours. And so I'm a very avid fan of when you finish your master recordings, sit on it for a few months and make sure that when you come back to it, you're just as excited about it. You feel just as proud of that work. You don't, because I think all of us come from a time where artists would put out an album and they would celebrate that album for 2, 3, 4, 5 years. They could tour all over the world. They could do music videos. They could do meet and greets. They could do all sorts of different things. And so you didn't need your favorite band or artist to keep flooding you with music.
Right.
They gave you something that you
Special.
appreciated and you listened to over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And so for us, it's like that's very much our goal with Hellhound is we want to create music that people will continue to listen to years down the road and still find a connection to or value within. And sometimes you got to let things sit in the vault to know that they're right for the world. If he had put that out back then, maybe he wasn't ready. Maybe our listenership wasn't built up yet. Maybe it would have gone underappreciated. Who knows? There's a number of things that, to me, it just makes it feel like, all right, the patient game is good if you've got art that matters.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's interesting. That makes sense. Is it ever hard to do that? I mean, do you guys ever make something, you record something where you go, I really would just like, this is so good. I just want people to hear it.
It's literally the story of my life. We always joke that we have like a small circle of friends that when we have music in the vault, they know that if they come over to hang out at the studio, they're going to sit there and listen to me rap them every song that we have in the vault. Because it's one of those like, I've been holding this in for too long. Like, I need someone to hear it. It doesn't come out till next year. Like, can you just let me just rap these songs for you? Yeah. Even these songs, we've probably been showing our circle of these songs for months and months now, at least. Yeah. And it was just all about like, we had other records from other artists that we needed to get done first, and then we had show obligations and this and that. So it was, once again, it was like I get so excited to show people these things, but I'm so lucky that we're always doing enough that it's easy for me to like put something not like on the back burner, but it's easy for me to like put something in my pocket when I have like another artist's project on deck. I have to. Both of us have had to really find that balance of like, we are in a way like the flagship artists for our label. Yeah. But we also own the record label that we have. And so we have an obligation to the other artists that we sign and support as well. And so we're constantly trying to figure out that balance of we have to lead the way both as artists and set the path as label owners.
And in the like opposite effect too, like we've definitely shelved records that are completely done where we're like, you listen back and you're like, like
really? Yeah.
I could have gone a little harder on that, or I could have changed. I gotta fix the bass line, or that we were ready to release, and then we're like, all right, let's hold back a little bit.
Yeah.
Sit back, restructure, rethink this, and put it back together.
Wow.
And we've done that as well, for sure.
Yeah.
It's tough, especially with hip hop music, to be totally transparent. Like I tell people all the time, I can rap. Like I have no qualms about, and that's not me. I'm not trying to be like pretentious and be like, blah, but like I know how to rap. You know what I mean? It's like, I feel like it's safe to say that I've like come up here, done the rap thing. I can rhyme. I can do the patterns. We're in a time in music where that doesn't matter anymore. What matters is that you can write songs that people can connect to and can gravitate to. The rapping is just it's like an instrument in the whole part of the song. Yeah. If your song is just raps the whole way through, people aren't going to necessarily relate. They're not going to catch everything. And so I can make songs all the time. I mean, me and him could go to the studio tonight. I could knock out 10 songs. Yeah. But tomorrow, I don't know if they're all good.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know if I like everything I said on all those songs. Right. And that's why you got to like be confident in sitting on things for a while. Yeah. Because if you're anxious to put music out right now, there's a very good chance that the reason you're so anxious to get it out is because it has to do with the timeliness of either something you said, you said something relevant to like a news thing right now, or a political thing or whatever, or your sound sonically matches the popular singles. And that's why a lot of people are desperate to get this music out, because they think getting the song out is the business strategy. Okay. But to put the song out, you need to have a business strategy. Yeah. Yeah. So that's why I'm comfortable playing the waiting game now. But I do admittedly like get anxious to be like, all right, it's safe to say right now, me and him probably have 40 or 50 songs in the vault at least.
Wow, really?
Yep.
Jeez.
And that we were ready to put out a full length album this year.
Yeah.
But we had to assess our situation and just realize that like we don't have the market for that yet. And so we need to like put our feet to the concrete and shake hands and kiss babies and get people to hear this music more.
Yeah.
We're fortunate that we still have an album that we're super proud of, going back to the timeliness, the album came out a year ago, but I would put it out today as a brand new album and show people. And I'd perform every one of those songs today as an anniversary thing if we didn't already have new music. I love that record. And so I'm happy to keep pushing that forward while sprinkling little bits out until we figure out who's ready for the next one.
Yeah. Are you guys playing out a lot, by the way? Are you doing a lot of live shows? Or?
It's definitely, it's funny. We were talking about this earlier. This year has been like our thinnest year so far for shows.
Really?
But I think a lot of that just has to do with we really learned a lot about running the record label, and that kind of happened unexpectedly. And so we kind of had to like hit the brakes to figure out how to do the label the right way so that the label wasn't just like a little like side project or like a little hobby for it. We want people to know that like when they put out records through our record label, that record is just as important as a Cody Pope and Byron G record. Right. And that the goal is to elevate all of those equally. And so we needed to have a creative and business strategy to do that. And so we haven't really taken as many shows, but it worked out in our favor because now like this lined up perfectly to be in here today. And then we have 2 shows this week. We're going to be opening for Spose from Maine. He's like a incredibly hardworking artist. And so Thursday, we're going to be opening for him in Lowell at Taffeta. And then Friday, we're going to be opening for him at Wally's in Hampton Beach.
Nice.
So it worked out really well because if we had been doing too many shows and spreading ourselves too thin, we probably wouldn't have been able to earn an opportunity like that. But because we've kept things scarce and timed it with a new record and all of that, I think it just kind of like, once again, like playing the patient game just has blessed us in a way.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Chris from the band Edgewise in the chat room says, writing something memorable is an art. To his point, writing songs isn't the issue. Right, writing something memorable. Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
Well said.
Yeah, absolutely. Shout out to Edgewise.
Yeah. Do you guys want to we have time. You want to do one more before
this is the closing song from our new EP Pound of Flesh that's going to be available everywhere on Friday. And this song is called Victory.
All right, Cody Pope and Byron G.
Down bad, but I have to keep my head up. Trying to capture the moment, but life sped up. Got all these books, but lack time to stay read up. Knew all these crooks, but I almost got set up. Fed up with the patterns I've been placing myself in. Eating off these platters, now I'm letting myself win. Smoking sheets of shatter ain't what making my head spin. When the only thing that matters is what's making the dead live. Struggle to wake up some days, but I gotta do it. Thank my Hellhound family, we got a lot of music. Strategizing and compromising due to the budget. But even if I go broke again, you know that I love it. Hopefully one day I'll look back at my victories. But right now I'm just developing my history. First home, then take this all over the planet. Never forget our victories, etched in the granite. Victory for the humble and the hardworking, for the ones who overcame another large burden. Victory for the stalwart and fall certain. Reap the reward you're here even if y'all hurting. Victory for the humble and the hardworking, for the ones who overcame another large burden. Victory for the stalwart and fall certain. Reap the reward you're here even if y'all hurting. Victory of the people who pushing past problems. Cheers to the ones who know money don't always solve them. Loyalty is a trait that most men been robbed of. Best friends become strangers, but it's all love. Oddly so far off path from my younger me. Used to be hungry, now I'm trying to see Hungary. I don't let the thunder asunder me or get under me. I give the storm in my soul, so there's no wondering. Barely a daredevil, just seeking stability. Work separate from all, that time is killing me. Music's her function, it operates like utility. Pour rhymes like wines, like my my comrades be spilling beats. All this hydration and sustenance keep my soul right. Been getting heavy, but this here make me so light. Illuminated and fortunate to possess these skills. The obstacle is the way. You're best to make these thrills victory. For the humble and the hard-working. For the ones who overcame another large burden. Victory. For the stalwart and far certain. Reap the reward you're here even if y'all hurting. Victory. For the humble and the hard-working. For the ones who overcame another large burden. Victory. For the stalwart and far certain. Reap the reward you're here even if y'all hurting. And that's Victory, the closing track from our brand new EP, Pound of Flesh, available everywhere Friday, August 25th.
Nice.
Very nice. Very nice. Yeah, that's a strong closer. That's really good.
That was
I like
awesome.
it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I like the positivity, and you guys always bring a lot of that. That's really good. Absolutely. And so where should so that'll be available on all the streaming platforms, obviously. And what about now for Hellhound Publishing? Where should people go to learn more about the label? And
everywhere you can go to www.hellhoundpublishing.com. You can find all of me and Byron's stuff. You can find every artist from the label. You can find the books. You can find our podcasts. You can find our web store. You can order CDs directly from there. They'll come directly from us. That's really the hub of everything. And then, of course, we're on social media everywhere at Hellhound Publishing as well.
Excellent. Yeah, it's cool that you guys, I know we talked about this last time, but that you still put out physical media too. That's really cool. Yeah. Is that, do you put out actual physical CDs for everything that you release? Or
so we were for a while, but now we've kind of switched things up a bit because certain records that we do, they placate to a certain audience. And if that audience isn't buying physical music, then it's like, don't reinvent the wheel, right. Like feed people how they're already eating.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So we would like to have a physical of everything, but sometimes it doesn't always come in the form of a CD now.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. We should remind people too, and if you're just joining us here, we have Cody Pope and Byron G with us live in studio. And if you missed them performing, make sure you go back and check out what you missed. Really, really good stuff. We should remind people, so you've got two shows this week coming up, right?
Yeah, August 24th, Thursday, we're going to be at Taffeta in Lowell, Massachusetts, opening for Spose in the Rigometrics. And then Friday, August 25th, we'll be at Wally's in Hampton Beach, also opening for Spose in the Rigometrics again. It's going to be a
Cody's
wild
birthday.
night.
Oh.
Yeah.
Friday is Cody's
Friday?
birthday.
Oh, happy birthday.
Hey, thank you.
Very
Let's
nice.
go.
So surprise him at the show.
Exactly.
Yeah. And we both have the day off.
Excellent.
The best birthday present of all is listening to our music, coming to our shows,
That's
and
it.
buying me Jaeger bombs.
There you go. There you go. Guys, thank you so much. And we should say, too, thank you to Marianne Williamson for joining us in the first hour. And
very much.
And if you missed that, that'll be up, of course, in the archive as well. And Jenny, did you want to plug your website and anything else?
Oh, you can always check me out at jenncoffey.com, JENNCOFFUI.com. The last few months of DC trips are loaded and up there if you want to see the videos.
And we have Brooks Young. We should remind people, too, Brooks Young will be our musical guest on Thursday.
Yes.
Is he playing live or is he just coming in?
I believe he is doing both, live and recorded.
Yeah, that'll be... do you guys know Brooks Young?
No.
Blues artist?
No. That sounds cool, though.
Yeah.
Sounds familiar.
He's amazing. Yeah, you might have run across him. He's from the area, but he's gone on tour, open for a lot of big names. And I was just commenting to Jenny earlier. I think the first time I interviewed him was like literally 15 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And it's just weird. I look at pictures of him now online, and he looks exactly the same, except he has gray hair.
Right.
And it's just weird seeing him with gray hair. And it's like, oh, wow, the last time I saw that guy, he didn't have any gray hair at all. It's been a long time. But he's great. Really super nice guy and just extraordinarily.
15 years. Yeah, that's a...
I mean, I'm guessing.
Impressive.
I'm bad at math. It might have been
Either
it
way,
might have been 12, but it's been a long time. Been a long time. So that'll be great to see him. He'll be in here on Thursday. But guys, thank you again so much, Cody Pope and Byron G.
Thank you so much for having us.
Wonderful to see you guys. Thanks for coming in and playing. And with that, If you missed any part of today's show, it will be up in just a little bit at WMNHradio.org and at my website, mattconnarton.com. Oh, and happy birthday to hip hop. 50 years.
Let's go.
That's right. That's
Whoop,
right.
whoop.
Yeah.
All right. We'll leave you with a little bit of Public Enemy to the clean version, of course, of Fight the Power to commemorate that. I've been dying to play this. Anyway, that's it for us for now. We'll talk to you all a little bit later. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.